Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be this fun holly and plaid nail set. So I did a mixture of hand painting and stamping for this nail set over here. So I'm just going to start off with a classic red and green and also throwing in a bit of gold and white as well to use as accent colors. So I'm just going to use these colors over here. I went for a few different colors of like a couple of colors for the red and the green because I wanted to have like nuance and just different colors going on. It's not 100% necessary though, so if you don't have colors that you like, or you don't need to have like a bunch of different colors for the set, it was just for me to have different depths and different nuances to the tones. It's just all part of the art. So I'm starting off with doing these two end nails in all white, and then in the three middle nails I'm going to do an ombre between the dark green and the white. The idea is kind of to look like maybe evergreen trees with some snow on them. So when I do the ombre with this ombre brush over here and I blend between the colors, I'm going to leave the streak marks there. You can be very precise when doing ombres and work the blend really evenly so that there's a seamless blend and you don't see any of the streak marks. And you can also use those like little sponges that I see people using to get a very flawless transition between the colors, if that's something that you want. For me, I wanted to have the streaks specifically in this design because I think it just helped with the texture. It made it feel like branches of a pine tree, and I think it really added to the feeling of the nail. But of course, everything is up to your own personal preference if you choose to recreate or take inspiration from this set over here. So I do 2 layers of everything. A second layer of ombre is always a good choice. Second layers for everything is usually a good choice, especially with ombres though. It helps fill in the gaps between the colors, and it can just help everything look a little bit more smooth, even if you do leave those streak marks behind like I did. So I am going to top coat. I'm going to be doing hand painting and stamping, so I like doing that over a matte top coat. I've just found that stamping is easier, and especially hand painting I find is a lot easier to control when you're doing it on a matte surface. It kind of like helps the gel polish or nail polish, whatever you're doing over top of it, to grip to the nail instead of slipping and sliding over a shiny surface. So I'm just going to do that over here, and I'm really happy that I did. I mean, I was going to do it anyway because of the just the stamping and the hand painting, but I hadn't planned on leaving this nail set partially matte, and I decided to leave it partially matte. You'll see at the end. Because of this like matte top coat over top of it that really just added to the enhancements. So here's what it looks like when it's all matte, and I'm just going to be doing a very simple plaid design over here with this stamping plate from Clear Jelly Stamper. But to add some more intrigue and interest to it, I wanted to do a blend of colors. So I'm using 2 different greens and 2 different reds. The reds end up looking pretty similar to each other, but I thought that blending the 2 different colors together would just add a little bit more intrigue. And because this is a pretty long nail, I did do a second round to fill in the tip of the nail over there. So with this red image over here, as you can see, there's 2 different colors of red, but when they blend together and when they're on the nail, they end up looking pretty similar to each other. And I kind of messed up a little bit, as you saw there, and I ended up taking it off and redoing the stamp again. And I was still having a bit of trouble. You'll see when I'm doing the rest of the nail, for some reason, the red was not picking up very nicely. And I figured I would leave it in this video. Sometimes when I make mistakes or things don't go great first round, I'll cut it out of the video when doing editing and stuff, just so that the video is a little smoother and easier to watch. But I thought that this would be a good like education moment, so I decided to leave it in here so I can talk about it. This dark, this red that I was using, the brighter one, ended up being a little bit tricky. As you can see, when I tried to pick it up, it was having a hard time. And at first I thought maybe it was because the stamping plate might have had still some of the acetone that I used to clean it off between stamps, and that it hadn't been completely dried, and I tried cleaning it off very well, especially with designs that have this like notched or groove. You can see there's like little lines. Sometimes old polish can get stuck in between. So there are lots of different reasons why something might not pick up well when you're doing stamping. But with this situation, what happened was my stamping polish was actually a little bit dried out. And because it was dried out, it was a little bit thicker, and it just wasn't blending nicely. So what I did was, they make polish thinners and you can just like add a few drops. I find that using nail polish remover actually works perfectly fine. So I just used a pipette and used a tiny bit of nail polish remover, dropped it into the stamping polish bottle, and then I just shook it up, mixed it around a little bit, and then as you can see over here, it is much smoother. You'll see when I do the pickup, it actually picks up the whole image perfectly. So it was a great choice. That's exactly what the issue was. The polish was just a little bit dried out, starting to get a little bit thick, and after adding a little bit of nail polish remover, it actually helped thin up the polish a little bit. So if you're ever struggling with stamping, there can be a lot of different reasons, but sometimes the simplest explanation, or something that's easy to check and fix if it's proving to be an issue, can be that maybe your polish is just drying out a little bit. So thinning it out with some nail polish remover or polish thinner can just be the difference between having a hard time or an easy time between stamping. So if you're ever having issues, check that out. That might be a problem. So now I'm going to do some hand painting. And when I say hand painting, I mean, I am doing it by hand, but I am using, of course, this dotting tool over here. And I wanted to do these little holly berries over here to do some fun festive nail art. And I used, as you can see, the dark red and the brighter red. It's very nuanced, similar with the two stamping polishes, the two red ones that ended up looking pretty similar to each other. I just thought that having different colors, different tones just kind of brought to life the design a little bit and allowed it to just feel a little bit more realistic. Just having the different colors, you can even do a lot more of a dramatic difference between them if you wanted to. And I am going to do 2 layers of this as well, especially because I'm doing the dark red over the dark green. The dark green was kind of peeking through behind the red a little bit. So after I cured that, I did a second layer with the dots as well, so that the colors would just be a little bit more bright and vibrant. And then after that, I wanted to add a bit more detailing. Sometimes when it comes to nail designs, the finishing touches, the small little things, the small added stuff is what really makes the design come to life. So I just wanted to add these little white dots. Holly berries do have little, like, I don't know if they're like stems or pits that are visible, and I thought it can also maybe look a little bit like a light reflecting. I think that it really just enhanced the design, brought it to life a little bit, gave it a bit more, a slight touch of realism. So those little details that you add to designs can really make the difference between something that looks very much like hand painted and something that just looks a little bit more detailed. And most of the time, just a tiny little white dot or just a little reflection or maybe even just the tiniest bit of shading can make a huge difference. And that's why I decided to go for this sheer green when doing the leaves over here, because I realized that when I did it over the white behind it kind of peeked through and gave it a lighter look, especially because it is sheer. But as you can see here, when I do it over the dark green, it has a much deeper tone, and I can get a very interesting, cool effect with the different colors going on while using the same gel polish. So if you wanted to do something similar and you didn't have like a glass gel, like I think that's what they call them from Apres, the glass gels, you can mix base coat or top coat with a gel polish that you already have to make it a little bit more sheer. And I think even doing this over the dark green and versus the light really just adds interesting texture, interesting nuance to the nails. Of course, not every leaf is the same color, not every holly berry is the same color, and having these different nuances between tones and colors, different sizes, even making the leaves not the same size and some of them having more branches than others, it just adds a realistic component that just makes the design more whimsical and dramatic, and it also allows you to just be a little bit more free. With the holly berries, for example, you don't have to get perfect circles, or the leaves don't have to be perfectly shaped, because this is nature that we're talking about. In nature, nothing is perfect. The whole point of it is that everything is just wild and rampant, and it's beautiful in its imperfectness. So this is a great design where you can just, as you can see, the leaves, it was so simple. It was just drawing lines, and it has such a beautiful impact with the different tones and just having the different colors going on as well. And the fact that each one of them is a little bit different, again, adds to the realism, adds to the whimsy of the nail. I think it really just adds so much to this design. I did go in with a second coat, as you can see here, mostly because it was seeming a little bit sheer, and I did want them to just be a little bit more obvious. But I decided that I was also going to leave the holly and the leaves shiny, and I do a shiny top coat over those, but leaving the background matte. And that wasn't something that I initially planned on doing with my design. I was planning on doing the whole thing actually shiny. But then when I was doing this detail work over the matte base, it was just so beautiful and it stood out so nicely. And I had a thought to myself that maybe doing it in shiny top coat would just kind of blend the colors a little bit too much to each other, and then you wouldn't really see the nuance between the leaves and the dark green. So I'm really happy that I went with that decision. I think it's really nice. And similar with the holly berries over here, I'm just adding a bit of white to these leaves. They could be a little bit of snow maybe resting on the leaves, or just a reflection, a catch of light, whatever you want to view it as. But I think just adding those tiny little details, again, brought the design to life and also made the leaves a little bit more obvious, sitting especially on that dark green color. Doing the shiny over the matte top coat, they do stand out very nicely, but I just wanted to add a little bit of like attention to those nails. And then to finish off, I'm using this silicone mold of snowflakes. I got this from Vettsy, and just using some of this gold cat eye gel. I don't end up using the cat eye effect because there's so little gel and it didn't really seem like it would do much, but I like this soft golden color that had like a tiniest bit of shimmer from Born Pretty. So I just use them to make these really pretty snowflakes over here. And you can see they have so much detail. I love these silicone molds. If you saw one of my recent Vettsy unboxings, I got a whole bunch of these. And I love using them. They're so great to just use to create any kind of 3D art that you want to put onto your nail and have it match any nail design you want. So that's what's going to be the middle nail, the one with the 2 snowflakes. And then I wasn't sure if I wanted to add the other snowflakes onto the plaid nails, but adding them kind of made it feel like maybe this was like wrapping paper, and it was kind of like a bow on top of a present, and I thought it was really pretty. So I decided to leave it. Let me know, would you have left it, or did you like the plaid nails on their own? I kind of like both. And then I'm just going to finish up with a top coat over here. As you can see, I'm being very, very strategic and using this tiny little brush over here just to do a shiny top coat on the holly berries and the nails and the leaves. The background already had a matte top coat, so I'm not going to remattify that. That didn't really seem necessary. So I'm just going to use this tiny little brush to add the detailing, and it does add a bit of shininess to the nail, so to the design. So it does add a little bit of protection, and it gives just the littlest bit more of a shine and a gleam that helps it stand out from the matte background, which I absolutely adore. I think it is so, so beautiful. And then I actually leave the plaid nails matte as well. I usually leave stamping matte because I do love how it looks, and especially with this plaid design, again, the idea of like wrapping paper or maybe a cozy flannel, maybe yummy holiday PJs, whatever you like, I think having it in matte just really brings the set together. So here is the final set. I did not expect to do the whole thing matte, but I love it. I think it is so fun. I turn on the light over here so you can just see it in different lighting. I love the set. It was so easy. There was nothing complicated about it, and yet it is so attention grabbing. It's so festive. It's so cozy. I really love how the set came out. So let me know your thoughts on this set down below, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye.